Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. So let's not take any more time in getting into the knit and grit of this beautiful 3-day masterclass, tapping into your body's wisdom to heal from abuse. Welcome in, everybody. If you haven't met me before, you have the honor today. My name is Love Ashley Elaine. I am a 500-hour registered yoga teacher, experienced yoga teacher. I love everything about the body when it comes to healing from abuse, healing those childhood wounds. I've worked with children and families since I was since I was 15 years old. Blows my mind every single time. It's funny because we don't always know why God has us in certain jobs. We don't understand certain routes and places and the people we meet, all of those things. It's now hitting 20 years later, more than 20 years later. And I understand. I kind of understand. But I've been working with children and families since I was 15 at the Boys and Girls Club in Orlando, and it just like I can date back to the spaces like my work study in college, working with this beautiful family from Sudan, and I was eager to get my advisor. I was a criminal justice major from Greensboro College. I was eager to get my advisor to get me something in like the courthouse, right? But he was like, "No, I think this is more suitable for you and what you need." And long behold, God knew before we did. I've worked in the New Jersey Children's System of Care. I was a caseworker for doing crisis intervention work, long-term case management. I've been a youth coach for the Family Support Organization. I've done behavioral system work where I worked with kids inside the home, really refining, retuning, those behavior patterns and what that allows them to do, right? So we're going from teaching them, that anger is okay, but how do we shift our body? How do we shift our mindset? How do we shift inward to really look at why this is the dominant thing that we feel, why this is the dominant thing that leads us into our behaviors and our reactions? Um, I've been in and out of therapy probably my whole entire life, but really in my adulthood, the last 7 years have been a beautiful beginning to a healing journey for me, a lot of self discovery where I found yoga. I'm very honest and open about my story. So if you have not met me, welcome, 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 welcome. I share about my childhood sexual abuse. I share about divorce. I share about my experiences with abuse and domestic violence. There's nothing on the table, y'all, that I am afraid to talk about. There's nothing on the table that I am not vulnerable enough to talk about, right? Well, that I'm not vulnerable enough to talk about. So I am an open book. And I sometimes wonder, like, God, why do I feel like I'm always telling all my business? And I constantly hear these experiences are not just for you. These experiences are meant to heal you, but also share with others. And when I started my yoga journey, it was to heal. I had this moment where I was laying in child's pose and I just cried, right? This was my first awakening to my body and just the voice that it had, right? Another session, I was laying in Shavasana. We were at the end of class, and I just remember like allowing my body to settle in from the class. And I remember saying, like, internally, if this is what I'm feeling at 30 years old, I can't imagine what some of the kids that I've worked with who've experienced sexual abuse at 6 years old in my like in my current presence, in my current walk, in my current space, the trauma that like these kids were dealing with. Like I had a moment where I was like, if this is what I'm feeling at 30 from something that happened to me like 25, 26, 20, like 20, 30, 20 years ago, I can imagine what these kids are feeling right now or what they're disconnected from, right? So if you are here, that means you're ready to tap into your body, right? That means you're ready to take those experiences that you've had and turn them into something that is going to be powerful, that is going to bring such deep wisdom, right? Because who wants to go through all these experiences in life and just say, "Oh, I went through such, I went through." Like we have enough of the trauma comparison of who went through what the most and whose life was the hardest, but who is ready and willing to do the hard thing, to do the hard work, to go inward and clean up house and turn all of that muck and gook into purpose, into a beautiful new life, into a business, into a book, into like a new chapter, a new, just something beautiful, right? We're not here for religion, right? But the Bible is my foundation. And there's a scripture that I live by. Well, there's several, but this one is when it talks about God gives us beauty for our ashes, right? So those things that happened in our lives, God wants to turn those into something beautiful, but you have to do the work. You have to work alongside spirit to be able to do that. So I'm so glad that you decided to join this beautiful 3-day master class. Today, with day one, we're going to dive into just understanding abuse and what happens to the body, right? The body's response to these experiences, not just while you're in them, right? And you can probably already account for um, what you felt during these experiences, if you felt anything, right? I'm thinking about like my own personal experiences, and there's a lot of numbness, right? There was a lot of I'm here but I'm not here, right? I could feel like a drifting apart from myself, from my truth, from who I thought I was, or who, like, I can feel it now going back into that space, what that felt like, right? But also what happens to the body and the body's response post these experiences, right? So let's go ahead and dive in. We don't want to take up any more time, okay? So first, we're like, what I want to do is start us out with just connecting with our breath, right? We're going to be talking about some heavy things today. Um, I want to put out, I am not a therapist. I have a bunch of therapist friends, if that makes sense. I am big on spirit. I am big on tapping into my soul and what lives in that space, what allows me to be in that space, what allows me to live in my being, right? So, a lot of what I talk about feels natural for me to talk about when we talk about trauma, when we talk about healing, when we talk about all of these things. I do have an experience working with trauma victims, right? As I said, I was a caseworker for many, many years. Um, Dealing with mental health, right? And also my own experience. So I want to put that out there. This is not a replacement for therapy, okay? Day three, we will be going through how to find a trauma informed and trauma sensitive therapist, right? And I'm going to be honest with you, I hate that term. Like, I really don't like it because it implies that there has to be this very specific space that is catered to just dealing with trauma. When truthfully, everybody in the world should just be sensitive to the past and the path that people are on, right? We all experience trauma at some point in our lives. Some of us don't, some of us deal with it different than others, and some of us deal with the big T's rather than the little T's, right? A car accident is traumatic, right? Women who give birth, whether it's natural birth or C-section, that's trauma to the body, right? We think about like outside of domestic violence and sexual abuse, that's trauma, right? So anything that impacts the body shifts the dynamic of the alignment of the mind, body, and spirit is traumatic. Okay. But again, I just want to put that out there that I am just in love with healing, right? And the mechanics of the body. I'm a very curious person. So I like to understand the concept of like what happens to my body when life is happening, right? We see a lot of people are really carrying a lot of the trauma that is happening with the war in Gaza, like the bombings. Like it's it like lives. So how do we translate and transmute all of these things, all right? So let's get started. So we're gonna just kind of move through just some centering. So find a comfortable seated posture. And when you're ready, you can begin to bring your gaze down your nose, right? Like kind of looking down your nose as a slope, or close your eyes completely. And I invite you in this moment to just find and focus on your breath. You may still hear sounds around you, just acknowledge them, but don't invite them, right? You may feel aches or something in the body. If you need to adjust, do so, but just acknowledge them, don't invite them. Right now, the focus is your breath. Where is it? And feel into it. What is it saying to you? Have you guys met before? Obviously, there's signs of life when there's breath in the body, but have you actually sat with your breath and been present with its voice, been present with the silence, so that the voice that you need to hear, the voice of your soul, can guide you, can direct you, can help heal you? Just stay connected to your breath. We'll take a nice big inhale and exhale. Nice big inhale and exhale. Last one, take in all the breath that you can. Nice big inhale and exhale. Beautiful. And when the body is ready, slowly blinking the eyes open. Beautiful. So let's start with just briefly talking about the impact that abuse has on the body and the importance of body based healing, right? That again, that is what my role is, my goal is body based healing, because everything, all the information sits in here. You have a book. The book is no good if you don't crack it open and start reading the words on the page, right? You are a book. You hold history, you hold the future, you hold the present, you hold wisdom, you hold knowledge, you hold sounds, you hold um, feelings, you hold sensations. All of it is information. Okay. It comes through the bloodline, it's in your DNA. Your DNA is information. Why would we not take time, right? Like, you're beautiful, you're gorgeous, your outfit is on fleek, right? Your hair is fire. I love your necklace. All of this external exterior, your skin, you take good care of your skin, girl, right? Important. And how do you want to show up? Not just externally, but internally, right? Abuse impacts us mentally, emotionally, our health and wellness, and can leave us spiritually and energetically drained, right? So, for the purpose of this master class, we're going to tap into the definition of abuse that I found from a somatic coach named Kai Chang Tum. Abuse is defined as a behavior that can be a habit when awareness of why this is a behavior is absent. I want you to just sit with that for a minute. Take a minute, sit with that, right? I'll read it again. Abuse is defined as a behavior that can be a habit when awareness of why this is a behavior is absent. Now, I always say that being on the other side of abuse is hard, right? But there's some self discovery that needs to take place. There's some curiosity that is needed to take place to understand why did this happen to me, or depending on the number of experiences, why does this keep happening to me? My last marriage, my last relationship was abusive, and I remember when the police finally came, the whole shebang, the things, I just like cried and I asked out loud, why does this keep happening to me? And one thing I've learned, and I teach this to my son, when you ask a question, one, be ready for the answer, and two, that indicates that you are ready for the answer. It is not only it's not only just my a part of like a huge part of my journey, but is a part of my life's purpose to not only uncover, right, the why, but also help others figure out the why. It's transformation, right? When you start asking questions, transformation is at the forefront. All I keep seeing is like this spiral up, right? As I'm saying this out loud. So, if abuse is defined as a behavior that can be a habit when awareness of why this is a behavior is absent, that means that something is like it's telling us that there's something missing, the awareness. And the awareness leads us into gaining wisdom. In my book Married to Trauma, I was very honest, and I oh, it was hard. It was hard. It was nasty. It was hard, right? But the hard thing is normally what is going to bring about the transformation, right? Nobody wants to look at themselves in the mirror and be like, "You messed up. You have a savior complex. You trying to save everybody because you don't know how to save yourself." I know I'm not just talking to myself, right? But in my book, I wrote out it's a book of poems, but in my book Married to Trauma, I talk about what I had to come face to face with, that I needed to divorce, that was putting me in abusive relationships. Not only being trying to be the savior, but looking to be saved because I didn't know how to save myself. Love. wanting to be loved so badly because I didn't know how to love myself. And yes, we can dig into like the childhood traumas and, the things that we go through with our parents and their things, right? But at some point, our healing is our responsibility. It's not anybody else's responsibility. Our self love is our responsibility. It's not anybody else's responsibility. Our self reflection is our responsibility. It's not anybody else's responsibility, right? So we're going to move into the nature of trauma. So, a definition of trauma that I learned from Dr. Albert Wong says trauma is an experience that shifts us away from or disrupts our divine creative intent. Listen, when I read that, like when I heard him say that out loud, I said, come again, come again. So you mean to tell me this traumatic event was almost intentional to happen because it wanted to disrupt the actual reason why I'm here, the actual reason why I was sent here on earth. This is where transmutation comes into play. This is where digging deep, going inward comes into play. But it only comes into play if you're ready to release whatever that mentality is. Oh, whoa, it's me. Why me? Why? Well, why not you? Why not you? Hmm? Why not you? I always say that I am for the people that are ready, the people that are ready to do the hard work, the people that are ready to get in the mud, the people that are ready to scream and shout it out, the people that are ready to literally birth a new version of themselves. Because who they've been, what they've allowed, how they've chosen to move about the world, whether it was by choice or decision or design or trauma, right, is no longer working from them. Becoming a new creature, becoming a transformed version of yourselves. I would say I'm ready. I'm for the people who are ready to. A year later, people look at them and be like, "I don't know who you are anymore." Yes, that is the goal, right? So when we think about these like trauma and how it disrupts us, right, from our divine creative intent, my question for you is who do you believe you are on a divine level? What do you believe you are created to be, do, and have on a soul level? And how are you, well, are you willing to take all of the experiences that made the version of you that is in this masterclass today? Are you ready and willing to take all of those, right? If this is you, everything that's behind you that met you here today, are you ready to take those experiences, right? How they say, take the meat, throw away the bones. I'm vegan, so ain't no meat or bones, but right? Peel the corn, shuck the corn, give me the corn, and yeah, that, right? Are you ready to take all of those experiences and transmute it into wisdom and turn it into something that will be better for your kids, be better for your family, literally shift generational curses in your bloodline, shift your DNA, Create a life that you only saw on TV or dreamt of. Live in such a state of joy that some days you have to wonder if you're living in Delulu. Because trust me, I've done enough work to where I'm ready to live in Delulu. And it be true, true. For me and my son. Hmm? Are you ready? Or do you want what you've been through to keep being your excuse and reason why you can't move forward? It's hard, right? But my pastor always says you get to choose your hard. Both are going to be hard, right? I'm a scripture girl, so in the Bible it says that I've come so that you may have life and have it more abundantly. Abundance lives within you, but you got to move all that gook and all this other stuff and stop having the excuse of, oh, that's not possible for me. I don't know why me. Whoa, it's me. No, you can unlock all of what is like your divine intent, your divine creative intent. So trauma doesn't just affect our physical body, right? It affects our ability to integrate all parts of us. This is wholeness. When trauma hits, it's scattered. It keeps us in a space of scarcity and everything is all over the place. But living in our divinity, living from our soul, keeps us in wholeness, keeps us in our space of truth. So when we talk about body healing also, right, there's been this term thrown around, somatic psychology. Listen, yoga is a 15,000-year-old, probably older, healing system before religion. And all somatic psychology is taking that system, right, and turning it into something probably more westernized, but that's a different masterclass, that's a different conversation, right? All of what we experience in this life happens through the body. And through the body is the only way we can heal from those experiences. Why? The body holds an account of every single thing that we've done, that we felt, that we've experienced, and it shows up in our behaviors, right? The body literally keeps the score of all our joys, all our pains, and to keep it forward, like we have to keep moving forward, we have to tap into what the body is holding so that we can free it and learn from it, right? There was a young kid that I worked with, so much trauma had happened to her to the point where she started all of a sudden just having these seizures, right? And that's when I started learning about somatic seizures. Her body was trying to release all of these experiences and the emotions and everything that was tied up in them, right? So, what somatic psychology is, it's the integration of the body and talk therapy. Okay. I have a program right now called Release and Rise where I integrate somatic and spiritual work with coaching, right? Again, it's not therapy because I'm not a therapist. I am a coach, I'm a purpose coach, right? And I help people look at their cycles, look at those patterns, break those cycles and those patterns, build new ones, and step into what their divine purpose is, right? Or at least begin to uncover what that looks like for them, right? And I'm going to tell you now, you will feel it. The body will be in a calm state, excitement, right? Are we going to still experience stress? Yes, it comes with life. But there's a difference between stress of like problems that are not meant for you to deal with and endure, and then stress that comes from, ooh, I'm still getting something accomplished. I'm still pushing the needle forward. Okay. It's an opportunity to say, in my body, I feel. In my body, I feel. Instead of just naming an emotion or a feeling, what do you actually feel in your body? I recently just had a coaching session with a client, and we were moving through like the throat area for like the energetic work, but also what she feels in her throat when she's angry, right? Name that. Name that. What is that, right? We also, it like somatic psychology also looks at our posture, right? Are we constantly curling in? Our reactions to things, our health. Ooh, our health is very tied to what our behaviors, emotional eating, right? I got to pick at something all the time because I'm anxious. But now my weight is fluctuating, right? Our mindful movements, are we connected to the way we move, how we react, how we respond? So I want to move through something with you guys really quick. Just want you to feel into the body, right, in this experience. So come back to that seated posture. Move my camera back just a little. Okay. And come into a seated leg cross, right? We'll bring our palms to our knees. And I want you to take an inhale and really open up the back, open up the front of the body, open up the throat. You can close your eyes here. And as you exhale, rounding out the back, drawing the chin towards the chest. Inhale, open up the front of the body, open up the throat. Exhale, rounding out the back, tucking the chin. And just keep moving through that. Notice anything that might be coming up for you. We'll go 2 more rounds and stay linked to your breath, right? The goal is to link the movement to your breath so that you can really connect all of your being. Option here to keep going, or you can come back to center and just take a moment to tap in. How did that feel for you? What came up for you, right? Maybe jot down some notes. We also want to think about that fight, flight, or freeze response, right? When we think about what happens to the body. I know we've been there, right? When like maybe we hear something fall and we tense up, we tighten up, right? Think about your body in that moment. What's happening, right? As you can see, my fist is tense, my shoulders came up, right? You can't see my other arm, but everything is like clenched in together, right? When facing danger, it triggers an automatic response, right? Fight the threat, flee the scene, or freeze in place, right? So it's almost like an automatic thing that happens. Trauma can hijack this system, making it overactive and leaving us stuck in one response. And sometimes we end up stuck in that response way after something has happened, years even, right? If we never address what has actually happened to our body, how this event has shifted how our body responds, right? This can explain why years later survivors are like very jumpy after an abusive relationship, right? Or, things like everything is very like clinchy, may avoid certain situations or places or have trouble even like taking action on things, right? Moving because they're in a freeze state, right? So I want you to remember your body in a particular experience, right? Nice big inhale and exhale. What did you feel in your body? Do you remember feeling anything? What did your physical body do? Most important thing, what helped you come out of that body response? And does that method still work for you? Right? We want to also think about, and we'll come like going back to the definition of abuse, when we want to avoid looking at internal stuff, right? Truth of how our being has been, we self-medicate. Then we end up abusing again, right? Abusing what we're using, right? Some long-term consequences of unprocessed trauma in the body, it can like it's has a big effect, right? It can lead to chronic stress, chronic pain in the body, right? The immune system starting to shut down and an increase of like just health problems. Like I can't stress the amount of health problems that come from unhealed trauma, right? And when I say healed or unhealed, it's not a matter of, oh, it's forgotten. It's like I'm better, I'm fine. No stress, no worries, no things, all of that. No. What you don't unpack, you'll never understand, right? What you don't unpack, you allow it to just kind of live there. What happens if you don't unpack food from a box? If you got shipped food in a box and you don't unpack it and put it in its rightful place, it spoils. Now you got a whole other problem. You got probably multiple problems after that. It becomes a domino effect. So when we say yes to addressing and opening ourselves up to what did this experience do to me and what can I make it do for me, right? We allow ourselves to start building that wisdom because we've allowed the awareness to open up. It also can cause sleep issues, digestive problems. Spiritually, we become disconnected, right? People struggle with their faith, they struggle in believing, right? People just completely disconnect from higher source, how higher power, God, whatever you subscribe to. One thing I know I struggled with was shame and guilt, right? We feel like we are responsible for what happened. You're not. Mm-mm. You're responsible for the healing, but you're not responsible for what happened, right? A lot of anger, resentment towards God, resentment towards your perpetrator, which that's a process, if I can be honest, right? Let's talk about forgiveness, right? that's a process in itself, because it's a constant, it's a daily practice, right? It's to forgive is a daily practice, right? Because we never forget what happened. And loss of trust. Woof. There were moments where I felt like the whole entire world was just out to get me. Like everywhere I went, everybody was just out to get me all the time. Everywhere I went, everybody I met, I always felt like everybody had a hidden motive. But at some point, I allowed myself to say, you know what? I have to trust myself at least. And I have to trust God and in his divine plan. And if I want to lead my life from a place of love, if I want to lead from my heart and stay in love, right? Why I added love to my name, Ashley Elaine, as a declaration, as an affirmation, as a reminder of who I am, how I show up, and how I lead and move about in the world, right? So that means constantly moving through my anger, resentment, and forgiveness so that I can keep my heart clean and open to lead with love, right? Whew, this is good. I hope I didn't scare y'all off. Because day two, we're going to be diving into like building that foundation for healing through the body to start getting into that wisdom, right? We're going to start going deep, going a little bit deeper, right? I hope this is good for y'all. Listen, questions, comments, concerns, drop them in the chat. Drop them in the chat. Um, I'm excited for this because you're here. That lets me know that you are ready for more, that you're ready to uncover the life that God has for you instead of staying stuck in what has happened to you, right? Um, yes, 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 yes. I'm so excited. So excited. I will see you all for day two. Stay tuned for day two tomorrow, day two. I love you all for free. Take care.